I want to talk about our take from the first quarter. I mean, when the year was about to start, we had this meeting. We talked about 2024. That was a great one. And we had some plans for 2025, some numbers that we had on our agenda for the year. Now we are in the second quarter. It's April 20th. And we kind of have an idea about how we are close or far away from those plans. In my case, the first quarter was all right. I'm happy about my performance in general. Of course, it could be better. I couldn't meet all those quotas that I had for myself, specifically when it comes to writing. I wrote things, but not in form of articles that I wanted to publish them. Actually, I've been writing more than
You're writing more. How many
more.
did you publish in 2025?
I published 3 in 2025.
So one per month.
1 per month, but it's supposed to be 2 per month.
Right. Okay.
But I also have more drafts. So
Yes.
this is the thing.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. So this is the thing with drafts, because there are days I open the drafts, I read them, and then I feel like I want to write more about this, and then I write. One issue that I have, which I embrace it because that's my lifestyle at the time being, is that I'm being interrupted a lot when I am into writing. Unfortunately, at night I can't write. I don't feel like writing.
The opposite of me. And probably at work. Yeah.
And I enjoy writing in the morning. And that's the time that I have. And my
How are
daughter.
we friends? I don't get it.
Sorry?
What?
How are we even friends?
That's the beauty of it, huh?
It's because we don't live together. That's why.
We live,
Oh, yeah.
we
You know,
live
I
together,
once,
by the
I
way.
once woke up in the same hotel room as Kia, and it's the morning, 6 a.m. We are on mission, and he's like, wake up, go take a shower. I'm like, fuck off. I'm going to snooze this motherfucker. It's like, no, you have to take a shower. I'm like, sir, I'm not going to take a shower. It's like, no, you have to take a shower. Like, I'm not going to take to leave me alone.
I remember that. I
In
remember that.
Serbia, Kia would walk to us at like 10 in the evening. It's like, so, and I'm in front of my laptop doing something. It's like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm going to work a little. He's like, a little? I'm like, yeah, I'll sleep eventually. And it's like 10 or something. And he's trying to politely get me to go to sleep so we can wake up in the morning. And I'm like, nah, I'll be fine. Just go.
You forgot about going to airport.
No, I didn't forget.
Man, I missed that day that we went. I'm going to Serbia again in 2 weeks. And it's been how many years? 3 years since that time?
Yeah, it was
It's 3 years ago,
2022.
right?
Yes.
Fuck.
Yes.
Good times, man. Good times.
It was 2020. That was great.
Now, as
That
a
was-
background, for those who don't know what we're talking about, this was a trip to ADCC tournament in Serbia where we all
Yeah.
participated.
Uh,
As a
Beautiful.
group, it was a
Beautiful experience.
performance, but
Do we-
it was the most fun thing.
do we want to immortalize the story on video so that we don't have to retell it every time?
I want to immortalize your story on video. Dude,
Yeah, that was
the
crazy.
way that it was insane.
Yeah.
Dude, he told me to write it down because there were so many small details that were great. But I did the stupid thing not to write it down. That the small details are gone. But yeah,
More
I can.
surprised.
So should I tell the story?
Go ahead, of course.
All right. So it's 2022.
We're not doing the quarter thing.
I've done.
With-
Yeah,
bring
we'll
it
do that
back.
later. Oh, we'll do that later. So I've done one ADCC, which was beginner, and I'm already friends with the people in ADCC Serbia, who are great, amazing people. Shout out to Boyan and Erkic Peja. They have this diminutive way of saying their name, so it's like not nice to say their exact name. You have to make it like a anyway. So I was a Pusula contract at the time, so I had even less money than now. And I remember the round trip ticket in 2022 was 5,000 liras, and it was expensive, but at the time it didn't look that expensive. And the competition itself was like 45 euros, etc., etc. And I was struggling. So I wrote to Boyan, hey, bro, I'm sorry. I'm having some financial issues. I can't make it. And this dude tells me, no. Don't worry about it. You stay at my house. I waive the competition fee and we take care of whatever you need. And I was like, oh, fuck, this dude. I was just so blown away by this act of kindness that I was like, sure. So me being the idiot that I am, instead of asking for help, I'm like, no, I can wait for a couple more days when my salary comes and I can just send the visa fee by then, instead of just saying, hey guys, can you send me some cash and I'll give you back in a couple days. Anyways, so I send, I wait. And when I send the visa request, fortunately, I have a friend who knows someone and says, hey, the person who's going to process your visa is on leave and you're basically fucked. So I'm like, what do we do? So we're scrambling to get something done. And you have to there's like 3 weeks at least that you have to have before applying for the visa. And I'm like way past that. So I have persuaded 4 of you, Kia, Elmar, Aslan, and Devra, and you all have taken your tickets. And nobody except for me needs a visa. Until the last day, it wasn't known that I would come. So one or 2 days before, 1 day before the competition, I'm still in Ankara.
Yes.
I am. I'm sitting with my ex-girlfriend who is Serbian. And we're talking about, fuck, how do I do? And then we're trying to make something happen. And her friend was the ex-secretary. So she did some stuff. And in the end, we decided I will go to Istanbul and try the consulate instead of the embassy. And they will somehow make it happen. So I don't have a ticket. I have nothing. I checked the train to Istanbul. There's nothing. I'm like, fuck it. We'll make something happen. So I get in a taxi without anything. And I'm on the way to train station. I keep refreshing that page, hoping somebody cancels. And somebody canceled at the last second. So I get my train and I arrive. And the time is set in a way that I have to be at the embassy, I think before 2 p.m. because they close. And my arriving at the train and then missing the metro literally 1 second before the door closes, every step of the way was like a, oh, it's
makes
enough.
me
It's
anxious
done.
hearing it again.
Yeah. And my ex, every step of the way, my ex was like, honey, it's fine. You did whatever you could do. And I was like, I was very deep into stoic things. It was like, no, you do whatever you can, then you chill. It's like, no, I can still do this. I can still do that. So I run, the metro door literally closes this far away from my face. I was like, fuck. So I'm going, I run to the embassy. Literally when I arrive there, I see people coming out. So I'm like, oh no, I just need 5 more minutes. So I sit out there, but I'm like, no, this can't happen like this. So I'm still talking to people. They talk people in the embassy. Somebody's still inside. He comes to me. I forgot his name. He's an older gentleman. He says, hey, I'm going to go, but the Kapıcı is here. What is Kapıcı in English? Butler? Yeah. So if it comes from Serbia, he can just stamp your passport and you can go. So we literally having people in the government of Serbia interacting. At the time, I'm having Boyan talk to his police friends. I'm having Maria, my ex's friend, talk to others. And at one point, one government official literally gets up from his desk, walks into another government building, and gets this verified, and they send it to me. So finally, and among this is all the small things that I still have forgotten, because I remember 5 or 6 times she told me, you've done enough. You can rest
Elmar,
now. And I'm like, no, I have.
Meanwhile, we are going for weigh-in.
Okay.
All of us. And I'm on my phone trying to figure out what's going on. Is he going to come? He's not gonna show up. Oh my god.
And
Go
I
ahead.
remember my phone was also like, I didn't have this phone. My other phone was like, the battery was dying. It was terrible. I needed to charge it. I went to the kiosk. I had to like pull so many. It was like small, unnecessary battles that had to be fought. Anyways, I finally got a stamp. I go to get on the bus to the airport, and I was getting on the wrong bus. Luckily, my ex was like, "Hey, no, you have to go to Sabiha." So I go to Sabiha. I'm dehydrated. I'm tired. I don't have anything with me. I haven't eaten. I have to weigh in tomorrow. And I go to Turkish Airlines. I was like, "Hey, I want a flight to Serbia tomorrow at this hour." And they're like, "Sorry, everything is booked. You can get in the waiting list, and at 4 a.m. we can check if something is opened up. We can give it to you." I was like, "Okay, sure. Write me in the waiting list." In the meantime, I just by chance walk across, and there's some other agency, and I say, "Hey, do you have a ticket to Serbia?" And like, "I have one." I'm like, "Sure, how much?" And one-way ticket. Reminder: the round trip was 5,500. One-way ticket was 11,700.
Yes.
And I'm like, "Fuck it, just give it to me." For context, I think at the time my salary was 9,000 liras. So I'm like, too much effort has been done for me not to go to this fucking thing.
But you were happy
So,
doing that.
I
remember
was.
You. I
Yeah.
remember you.
And
the dopamine rush because of
Yeah.
this. I
yeah.
remember that. And I
Yeah.
was happy. All of us were happy.
Speak
Yeah.
for yourself.
So yeah, I didn't want to go for 5,500.
It makes me angry just listening to this. At
Yes.
the
Yes.
time, I was livid.
At the time, I wasn't diagnosed either.
You were diagnosed
Ah.
by me.
Good. I got the eye roll from two people. Awesome. So I remember I was thirsty, but I was refusing to buy water because it was so fucking expensive. So I was like, what do I do to maximize my water intake with the least amount of money? So I go to Carl's Jr. and order a burger menu, and it has refill, free refill on the Coke. So I literally have like 2 liters of Coke Zero just to rehydrate. And at 5 a.m., like I'm in the airport for like 13 hours. I sleep on the couch there, and at 5 a.m. I fly in and I immediately go to the competition. I don't even weigh in, like I just weigh in there. And when I arrive, Aslan has already lost. That was terrible. And then starting with Devran, our coach, he went in and he lost. And I remember me and Elmar, we both immediately had this drop in morale. Like immediately we make eye contact and we both know we're fucked. And it was Elmar then who went and lost to this fucking jacked young kid, right?
And then
Fast forward
immediately
to
after my loss.
No, we entered the match at the same time.
At
At the same time. Yeah. And you lost to the guy who just finished everyone in 16 seconds.
I think Devran was coaching you, Kia, and then Shahab was in my corner.
Yeah.
So you were yelling because I still remember you yelling to the referee that
he's muffling you.
closing your mouth, he's cheating and this and that. But the best memory of that match I have is the guy steps on the mats. I just looked at him. I was like, there's no fucking way this guy is 76 kilos. It's just not, there's no way. I am 76 kilos and this guy looks like, so I said to him, are you 76 kilos? And he was like, like, okay, that makes it clear, I guess. And so then the match happened.
Yeah. So everybody lost. And I'm like, this story can't end like this. The story of I came with my friends and like this happened. And then we went all with a loss. This fucking can't end like this. And I have zero energy. Like I'm so fucking tired. So I look at Aslan and I was like, I'm going to make this right. And I go in and I win my first match. And unfortunately, I lose my second match. And then I go to the bronze match and I win it. That was good, some good shenanigans. I almost broke my back. So for context, for those people who like our jiu-jitsu people are going to listen. So I had the guy in a crucifix. And it was the time that we were all Gordon Ryan fanatics. And it's like, no, you have to finish. Submission is everything. So I was like, I was already winning, but I wanted to finish the guy. So I went via rear naked. This dude literally gets up with me on his back and everyone is shouting, "Let go of the submission! He can slam you if there's a submission." And then this guy, boom, just slams me to the ground. I remember a week after the competition, I wrote in our Badgers group, "Hey guys, does any of you also feel like you were hit by a truck?" And then Kia made a GIF of me getting slammed, and it says, "Didn't you?"
Yep.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, we got one medal.
Kia
And-
wrote and said you were actually literally hit by a truck.
I was literally hit by a truck. Yeah. That was an awesome time.
Awesome time.
Yeah.
Beautiful story. But
Yeah.
to bring it back to the topic of this episode also, what is your takeaway from it now after almost 3 years when you
Yes,
remember it?
What did you learn from that experience?
I learned to. Actually, didn't learn. It took a couple more mistakes to learn to submit my visa application on time. But jokes aside, Kia, Boyan told me people make problems, warriors solve problems. So when I had the money problems, he said, "You don't have any problems.
Mhm.
The problem is solved." So I had a friend who had some money problems the other day, and I just told him the exact same thing, and I took a screenshot and sent it to Boyan and said, "Hey, I'm keeping your spirit alive," which was nice. So many valuable lessons.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's not done until it's actually done. Because people, I don't want to make it a more motivational thing than it really is. But really, throughout the thing, when I had fucked up and I wanted to make it right, I was really thinking, okay, is there really not anything I can do, or is there something I can do? And like when my ex was telling me that you've done enough, and I was like, no, I can actually do this and I can actually do that. I wish I just applied that to everything in life, and that would be much, much better.
I think
better.
you can, and you are. This is the thing. I think from that day until today, you actually have come a long way, and all of the lessons from that day and then later on are with you, and you definitely remember them.
I do.
The story is the story of execution. Which of the lessons did we learn? Because the other day I was thinking about this. I was thinking about this 3 months of the year in 2025. I was thinking about the lessons. And I was thinking that the lessons are there. Of course they are. But the mere fact that the lessons are there is not the guarantee that you learn them.
Mhm. Yeah.
There are many lessons in many stories, in many events, and you see them and you feel them that moment, but that doesn't mean that you necessarily learn them. So what I have been trying to do, at least in my case, is to keep myself reminding of if there is any lesson. First of all, I can understand it and I can learn from it. So I think that story, of course, has a lot of lessons. But what stays, what we learn from it, is another story of itself.
Mhm.
But thank you. Thank you for resharing. Thank you for making us anxious again.
Can I
Thank
take
you for
it
listening.
further?
Sure.
Understanding the lesson is still not everything. The ability to have a way where that information is triggered in your mind when you're confronted with a situation, and that your default thinking doesn't just take over. And then again, this becomes just another lesson. That is something where the real change happens, because we read a lot, we understand and process a lot of information. But then how do we then apply it at the next opportunity? That is real change. And I think oftentimes people confuse understanding with application.
Yes. I think you're onto something good, but I don't think I completely understood what you're talking about. Can you elaborate?
Okay, so I intellectually know that in this position, I can do this sweep. And if that sweep doesn't work, I have an opportunity to recover my guard.
All right. So knowledge and skill,
Exactly.
basically.
Oftentimes we go for knowledge. And when we have the knowledge, when we can we understand what this topic is or what the issue is, we just assume that automatically translates into skill, but it doesn't. And just because you had a teachable moment, Shab, does not necessarily mean that next time you have a situation where you have to.
Very fair. And there's no need to smirk. I completely agree. I'm going to ask you, so in jiu-jitsu, you know how we can make knowledge into skill by drilling it and practicing it several times.
Yeah.
How do you do it in real life with this thing that happened? Do I put myself in the same situation? That's not the answer. So how do I make it a skill instead of knowledge?
It's precisely the opposite. You don't put yourself in the same situation, and
but you see how that doesn't make sense, because you think you learn a lesson, but you don't apply
Let me suggest something. So let's say your lesson was not to leave arrangements for a trip of which you were aware whatever significant time earlier. So here's an example. I do a lot of last minute plane bookings, right? Oftentimes I do them because that's the only way I can. Like I have to fly to Baku to see my kids, or anything of the sort. And then it just happens last minute because the window within which I can actually genuinely take leave, it just occurs to me that if I take it now, I take it now. And then for the next 2 months, I won't be able to. But unfortunately, once you get used to that mechanisms, it becomes your normal modus operandi, and that's a problem, right? So here's an example. On 21st of June, there is a UFC event in Baku, Azerbaijan, right? I know it. You know it. UFC knows it. Everybody knows it's happening. And so now I pre-registered for the event. So the second the tickets are on sale, I'm buying the tickets. Right? I'm not going to procrastinate it. I've put it on my calendar, and I've also.
Did you register for us too?
Well, I just was able to just make one registration. I don't know if that means one ticket or many tickets, but I'll try to buy many. And so the thing is, once I know whether I have a ticket or not, I should make the reservation already then. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the way you turn this into an application phase is by making sure that certain situation triggers a particular kind of action. Now, how do you do that? Is, the example we discussed in the podcast, my lesson of is supposed to be hard, right? If it's something good and something important that I'm trying to get, it's okay if it's hard, right? I literally wrote it on a piece of paper, put it in front of my screen. And every time in the course of it was a written test for a position I had applied for, every time I felt like panic starts raising because I'm looking at the clock, how many questions I still have to respond to, and I'm starting to feel anxiety, I would look at that. I would just lock onto that sentence, and it would bring my anxiety down. Like I would feel that I'm calming down. So you have to, it's not just enough to read something from Marcus Aurelius and say, oh, I know this sentence. What do you do with that sentence after that? You have to then make the next step of trying to see how you can connect that into your daily life. If you know you have a particular kind of a problem, you're a last minute, tickets buyer, for example, whatever it is, then you have to make sure that every time that is on the horizon, you do that extra push to apply this lesson to that situation.
Yeah.
We can brainstorm about this more. I don't want to talk.
That's what I did this time, actually. Yeah. So my thing is done already. Actually, I did it so preemptively that I paid the visa fee and sent all the documents to the embassy, and they said, hey, we've changed our visa procedures. You shouldn't have sent us the money without talking to us. So now go do it online. I was like, oh, okay. So, yeah. Yeah, but yeah, that's a big problem. And I don't want to bring it too far away from the topic of discussion, but I remember in 2012, I read the book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by, was it Robert Greene or Dale Carnegie? I don't know. Okay. And one of the things was it was a 2-minute thing. It was the same thing as a 2-minute thing. If you have a paper that needs to be signed, sign it right now. Don't put it on a to-do list. Just do it right now.
I remember it from GTD, from David Allen.
Yeah, yes. but it's essentially the same message. Do it right then and there. But then for some reason, I'm so resistant to learning the fucking lesson. I don't know what's wrong with me. I think a definition of being a smart person is to be able to learn from other people's mistakes, etc., experience, and not to have to make the same mistake yourself. Because when you make the same mistake yourself, we know neurochemically you learn better. But if you're a smarter, wiser person, you can learn from other people's mistakes. But I find that no matter how much I study sometimes I struggle with applying the lesson that I've learned, and I can't turn the knowledge into skill. So maybe for some other time we can talk about this, or maybe some idea for your articles, Mr. Bagirov.
No, I mean, that's actually one of my things to talk about for this quarter.
Awesome.
Nice.
So, Elmar, do you want to talk about it now, or should I go with my account of the first quarter and then? Okay. So I have my notes here about the first quarter. I want to go through them very quickly about the events that they most probably are going to stay with me for the rest of the year, and some of them for even longer, and the lessons from them. One of the things that I had experienced for the first time in my life was my daughter's birthday. And I wrote it in my journal as the event only secondary to my wedding.
Damn.
The event itself, like preparing for it. And at all time, I was thinking that she's not going to remember this. None of this. And we are doing this to ourselves with the excuse that we're doing it for her. But the joy from it, seeing her in that clothes, seeing her in front of those setup was so amazing that I cannot get enough of the photos. Like maybe that day I was so tired of blowing 150 balloons the night before. But that was a great experience. And of course, she's getting bigger. She's understanding more. She's changing at all time. This notion of change is just not going anywhere. And this is one of those lessons which is constantly in front of me, but I can't learn enough of it. Mm-hmm. I can't. I just can't. I see it. I feel it. But I think I learn. But the next time I'm like, there is much more to learn. The change is constant. And it's very humbling also. That most of the time I think that the situation that I have been to during last more than a year was not an easy situation. And there are days that I'm literally insane. I'm gone crazy. I don't know. I can't take care of my thoughts. And then all of a sudden I feel calm again when I think about, this is not going to stay. This is going to change. But there are things that are going to stay with me from this. One of them is my own image. How do I remember myself these days? Worse than that is how do my family remember me during these days? So that's something. And about my daughter, I don't know if it's the same for other men, but her significance in my life is getting bigger and bigger and overshadowing all other overthinking. Like it was not like this 4 months ago. But these days, anything can become secondary. Like anything, literally anything. And the most important one is myself, which is definitely no more primary. Like never. So many times I think there is something to do that we were talking about, like the notion of procrastination. And I don't even think that I can give it time because I want to do something or I want to finish this article or So I would rather be interrupted by what needs to be done than doing what I want to do. That's interesting. And it constantly reminds me of the notion of the second mountain.
I can tell you that it's not going to get better.
Thanks so much.
I remember reading, I think it was Cal Newport's Deep Work, or maybe one of his books, where he was talking about two different styles of how people concentrate on work that they do. One was more monastic style, where you just go sit in a cabin in the woods somewhere for a week and you just write, or for a year, and you're writing that one book or one article or reading whatever. He was given plenty of examples of that. And then the other one, and I was like, nah, I'm never doing that. There's no way with my life that I will be able to be left alone for a week. Forget it. And then the second one he was talking about was more journalistic approach to concentration, which is where you take whatever you can in the course of your day. It's 5 minutes here. It's half an hour there. It's an hour there. And you have trained yourself to be able to completely zoom in on that task in that moment. The fact that you've had multiple interruptions, of course, it is not helpful. But since that's the best you're going to have, you've made peace with it. And you've developed a habit of, this is what I'm going to do the next time I have half an hour. And then the next time you have half an hour, it doesn't even matter where you are, what are the circumstances, whether you're in a cafe somewhere at home or just waiting for an appointment. All of a sudden you have to wait for half an hour. You can just flip your laptop, get your phone out or whatever, and then just zoom in and do whatever it is that you. So I find that as a parent, it's the second approach, and it's not by choice. It's just what you get.
Yeah. Right now, I'm writing an article. I'm not completely sure about the title, but it's going to be something like an ultimate antidote to your distraction. And one of the things that I'm writing is that your system is wrong. You most probably have developed systems around the things that you can accomplish. But then when the time change, your system is no more working in this situation. So you definitely, and changing the system is not easy because that's something that you're proud of. That's something that you're getting things done in that system. But now you need to, but that system no more works. So you need to work on developing a new one. And that takes time. And that takes time. That takes education. You need to study. You need to learn more. You need to adapt. So that's one of the lessons.
One of the best quotes I saw recently was the illiterate of the 21st century are not going to be the people who don't know how to read and write, but the people who will not know how to learn, unlearn, and relearn.
Yeah, very good. Very lovely.
I don't remember who said that. But
unlearning is a tough one. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I wrote it the other time in the group that we have. I said, it's the problem is not that you are uneducated. The problem is that you are wrongly educated.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes. So the author of this quote is Alvin Toffler, an American writer, futurist, and a businessman. Yes.
Okay. Another thing that I had during another event that I'm kind of very proud and I'm enjoying it right now, we are in it, is that I started the podcast, launched the podcast to be accurate, February 10th. I put it on Spotify and then later on YouTube. Since then, I am enjoying working on this podcast. And that has been a lovely journey so far. I mean, on YouTube, the numbers are funny. I cannot get enough of them when I look at them. One of the funny things is that 100% of the audience of the channel are male, which is nonsense. Which is
misogyny.
Because my wife also watches the channel. The other I was thinking, maybe she changed her mind, but I checked, she didn't. So it's not 100%. So far, we had 100 1,662 views in total on the channel and 38.9 hours of watch time.
Have you seen this picture of people saying 100 views is not that much, and it just shows actually what 100 people looks like, and then what 1,000 people looks like? Oh, it's amazing. Google it. It's just
I was telling my wife today that I cannot. Why 100 people would want to watch this last episode of my podcast?
Yeah,
because it's very interesting to me.
yeah.
And one of the things that I'm trying to be very, very careful and cautious about is one of the lessons that I learned from Elmar. I'm not trying to do anything here. I'm not trying to do anything for any number. I do not have any goal for this. I'm just doing what I want to do and I enjoy doing it.
That's awesome.
And I cannot get myself more surprised by seeing the numbers. I just enjoy being surprised. And the story is that even if the numbers are not going up, I still enjoy doing it. This is something that for the first time in my life, I'm feeling what Naval Ravikant was saying there. He said that there is no way that somebody else can beat me in this because I'm playing. They are working.
Yeah, that's true.
That's very interesting. And I'm playing and I enjoy it. I can play. I need to stop myself. Like I literally need to stop myself and go to bed because I'm going to wake up at 4:30 and it's 12. And I'm like, you need to stop this. But I'm like, let me fix this track also. And then that's insane. But that's very interesting. So it
Sounds like a good problem to have.
I mean, yeah, quite. But let's not forget, the primary is something else. So I need to have energy for that primary.
True.
So I had this goal of 24s for this year, like 24 books, 24 articles, 24 episodes. So far on the episodes, I'm good. I could publish 2 episodes per month. So we already have 6 episodes published from the podcast, but not all of them were recorded in 2025. 3 of them were recorded before, but I had them on in 2025. With the articles, I already said them below. I had only published 3. With the books, I read 4 books. I read The Awe. I enjoyed it. That was a fun book to read. The other one was How to Think Like Socrates by the same writer of the How to Think Like the Roman Emperor, Donald Robertson. Yes. I reread The Creative Act. That book is something that I constantly need to read. It helps my psyche so much when I read it that I can't get enough of it. That's an amazing book. Rick Rubin is the writer. And the other book that I finished in 2025, but I didn't start it, is a book that maybe Elmar would want to have with him soon, is What to Expect the First Year by Heidi Markov. This is an essential for, I think, everybody who is, I'm saying this because at the time that we have a lot of noise regarding parenting and specifically parenting a newborn on Instagram, on YouTube, on X, a lot of noise, a lot of comparison. This book provides you a great baseline of understanding what you need to expect and what you are dealing with. And that was very educational for me and still is. I just started reading the second book, which is What to Expect the Second Year. And I cannot get enough of it because, to be honest,
book of this writer.
Sorry?
I wonder which book she wrote next after that one. What?
By the way,
did she skip from 7 to 10 like iPhone did?
What to Expect is actually a line of books. Is is not only, it's what to expect toddler, what to expect teenager. There are many what to expect books. But that's a very helpful book. I'm saying it's specifically for us because we are all on ourselves. We do not have a lot of guidance coming to us from our elders. We are remote. And I think nothing is scarier than taking care of a baby when you are remote and on yourself and you do not know what you're doing. The baby doesn't come with the user manual. So you need to you need to listen to some people and learn. Otherwise, you're going to experience and learn hard way. Exercise was another thing that for the first time I took the track of them in 2025. I had done 35 exercise sessions in the first quarter, which is not sensational, but I think in my situation, it makes 3 sessions per week, which is, dude, that's luxury for me. And I just finished it with the activity that I started for the first time in 2025, and that's journaling. Today that we are talking, I have already completed 107 days of journaling. I didn't miss a day. The journal is not only containing me writing about that day, I have writing about different topics. That's what actually makes me a little bit further from writing on Medium, because I keep writing in my journal and I keep writing about different topics. So that's why I did not have enough time dedicated to my writings on Medium. But journaling so far has come very handy with me taking track of my feelings. The reason that I started journaling was I felt that I'm not grateful enough about my life, and I need to remind myself about the things that I have. But then later, the journaling goes different ways. When you start writing, it's not only going to be you reminding yourself of what you have and be thankful of them, because it gets boring day to day. You come back and touch those topics, but I write about different issues. I write letters to people who I would want them to have the letters that I write to them. That's a very interesting exercise, and I really enjoy it. So I most probably am going to.
I wonder, do you like go back to your journals and are like surprised / don't recognize the person who has written that, or is it?
Surprise, yes, but not recognizing the person who wrote them. I use Stoic app for journaling, and we talked about it once off the podcast. That's a very interesting app for journaling that's extremely smart, and you can be benefited from the use of AI, which I don't use. But the app time to time brings back your pieces of writing that you had some months ago and some specific days. And when you read them, I get myself surprised with what I wrote. And that's good, actually, some days, because I wrote them and it's good to see them. So that's a very interesting and so far helpful activity. So I most probably am going to keep journaling. If not for the rest of the time, but definitely for the rest of the year. So that was mine.
You know, it may seem like it's taking the time that you could have spent writing or doing whatever else, but it will bleed into your writing. Meaning that the way you process your thoughts and, issues that you're working through, that will help you think about them better, because you are writing. You're just writing for yourself and not for an audience.
One of the things that it
will make it easy for you to structure your thoughts going forward.
Exactly. One of the things that it teaches me is that so many of the thoughts that you have, they are better not to be put out by you. So,
yeah.
it's a good chance to just reflect on them.
Yeah. For some reason, the past week I've given this example of, I think it was Lincoln who wrote letters cussing out his enemies and never sent it, right? Yeah. And just put it in his drawer, and they found it after he died. So yeah, some of the time it's just better not gone out, but it's good to vent it somehow.
Yeah.
To get it out. Yeah.
Our immediate judgment is flawed. Let's say that.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah. That's why every time I'm going to make a decision about my work, I first make sure to talk to the gray man right here. It's like, I'm going to fuck everything up and destroy everything in my wake. Please stop me. I mean, it's at least good to be aware of your destructive tendencies, you know, and have friends who can keep you in check. That's a big blessing.
So, who's next?
Emma, go ahead. Me? What are we talking about again? I was busy procrastinating. But
first quarter. Oh, is it over already?
yeah, nobody told me it's gonna be over this soon. So is it? So let me talk about like that.
Not
like
even once during last 35 years.
What?
He said nobody told me that's gonna get over soon. This soon.
Yeah. I'm not 35 yet, man. I'm not 34 yet.
All right.
I am. I will be very soon. Anyhow.
Tell us.
In 5 minutes and you still haven't said anything.
Yeah.
Leave him alone. Let
As
him
Bill
talk.
Burr says, get on it.
Hey, man, I told you, you're going in my, I'm not going to say the word note tonight. Speaking of that, and speaking of self-destruction, as you know, I'm not in a perfect place right now. So again, my first line of action is just destroy everything for some reason. And when our jiu-jitsu place changed, it was a change that I didn't like because it was comfortable for me going here, etc. And the new place wasn't that comfortable. And I found myself bicycling in the cold, and I kind of got some frostbite on my fingers. And for some reason, I decided this is too much. And I stopped going to the jiu-jitsu. So first of all, I immediately wrote to Devran so that he understands it's not his fault because he tends to take it upon himself. But I know for a fact that this is a wrong decision because, like, my mental health is best when I'm choking people out, right? But for some reason, going there was a hassle enough. It's the negative self-talk that I found doing to myself on the way there that made me just take it easy. And when my, separation letter came, I just wrote to the group and I said, hey guys, I'm gone, which is still very possible. I'm thinking very seriously about it. Just say, fuck it, and just leave and recollect my thoughts and come back to wherever, not Turkey necessarily, but see what I'm going to do. Yeah, say it. Say it.
Why don't you go to India and find yourself or something like that?
That's an option. That's an option.
Go to Tibet.
Yeah, but I want to talk about the good thing that we have that's called friends and real friends, in that friends who can kind of put themselves down to make you understand that you're appreciated. So I'm not going to say who it is. I was talking and I told a couple people, and then somebody wrote me. And I told you, Kia, that night we were talking, but that was like, after that talk, I was not in a good position to talk because I was too emotional. So when I was calling myself a loser and just not feeling great, a friend of mine just out of the blue told me that he had decided to end himself. And I was one of the people who helped with this. And I was just flabbergasted. I was like, how is that even possible? Like, the only thing that I did was just tell him the stuff that I thought, because he's an awesome person. And I'm like, dude, you're awesome. You're just full of shit. this, you don't understand how awesome you are, etc., etc.
Just to be clear, is he awesome or is he full of shit? I'm a bit confused.
Yeah, so I cried. I was like, fuck. After this, I can't just easily call myself a loser. I'm still a loser, but maybe I should take it easy on the judgment. Yeah, and I understand that my thoughts are all over the place, but this is how I am this couple weeks, and I can't make sense of it. It's kind of tough. On paper, when I try to logically think about everything, nothing is really wrong, but for some reason, it just doesn't feel the same. It feels not right. And outside this podcast, I will talk to you guys to see what's what. But yeah, it's weird. So the plans of 2025 have taken a turn because of this. It was supposed to be a year of relationships, a year of YouTube activity, etc. And the YouTube is still there, as you can see from the lights here. It's I have done more preparation than I've done before. But the one development that has happened since the last podcast that we did is I started teaching the competition class. And that was amazing. For the first time in years, I found myself loving what I was doing. And it was really interesting because I started the class and I just actively disallowing people of joining. I was like, this capped at 12 people. And I only told a couple people, 3, 4 people. And then I saw people begging to join. I was like, what? How? And then I had a full class of 13, whereas I capped it at 12 until the move happened. And then that was also another thing of, oh, fuck, this went haywire too. This went south too. So right now, I found a new place, which comes with its own challenges. It's dirty as fuck. Yeah. So I'm seeing what can be done. I'm seeing what can be done. I have to see if I'll stay in Turkey for the goals to be the same. Otherwise, I'll just have to rewrite the goals. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Interesting.
Very all over the place. Sorry to be like this, but that's, yeah. Elmar is actively holding himself from sending some snark shit. Say it. Say it. I dare you. I double dare you.
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's look, the only thing I can say in this is I told you that before, and I've said this sentence in different contexts, and I've heard it in different contexts, and I think it perfectly summarizes. It may not be your fault, but it's still your problem.
Yeah.
And sometimes things completely outside of our control will happen, right? Not sometimes.
Yeah.
That's how life goes. I mean, about an hour ago, before we started, I wrote to ChatGPT and I said, give me a list of 20 horrible things that can happen to somebody that people are usually unprepared for. And of course, if you ask an AI a question like that, the first thing you do in your own mind before it even starts responding, you already know what those things will be, right? And still, some of those 20 things just popped up. I didn't think about. And I was like, oh, this could also happen. Oh, and this thing could happen. Oh, and this could happen. And every one of those things is a kind of a black swan event where you're not prepared. Nobody plans for, I don't know, a loss of
like your appendix rupturing.
Yeah, a serious health problem was on the list, of course, a terminal diagnosis, a loss of a loved one, a serious catastrophe hitting your entire community, the earthquake in Southeast Turkey being an example, for instance. But the point is, it's useful to refresh in your mind what are the most horrible things that can happen. So by looking at your current situation, you can see where that places in the, perhaps hierarchy is the wrong word, but you know what I mean, in the overall pecking order of how bad things could get. Because who was saying that if you think it cannot get worse, you're mistaken. So I think it's number one, useful to remind yourself that you're not experiencing anything new. And this is, again, something that is throughout meditations. Marcus Aurelius writes about this constantly.
That's the problem, man. For me, it's not that Yeah. You just said it's not your fault, but it might be your problem. My problem is it is my fault. And I know it is my fault.
Well, but then here's the thing. Whatever you can influence, you can influence. So the more impact you can actually have on something, that's an empowering thought, right? If it's a natural disaster, what could you have done? Yes, you could have had your quick run back. You could have picked the right kind of a building. You could have done your drills for evacuation or whatever, your emergency contact numbers and so on. Where's the nearest? There are certain things you can do, but the destructive impact of an event is something you cannot see coming. And so the point of it is that something that doesn't actually physically kill you, there is still scope for some fixing and damage control that you can do. And so that's the first kind of thought, right? And then what Kia said earlier about looking at his daughter and seeing change firsthand. Change is inevitable. I mean, when we came together for the first time several years ago, we thought that within a year, all of us will still be there. And then within 2 years, and then all of a sudden, Kia went to Iran, and then I ended up going to Gaziantep. And then things are constantly in flux, and that's fine. And that's how things should be. You need to make peace with that. But the other thing that I think you should focus on is if you know something is good for you, both in terms of the meaning you bring to this world, because I was in one of your classes and I saw how people were very happy to be there. Nobody asked them to be here. Nobody forced them to be here, to be there. And so you're adding value to this world.
Yeah, you did give me a compliment by the same way you do always, sandwiching it at the open mat. Yeah. I was like, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Wait for it.
Yeah, there is meaning there. And there is meaning for you as well, because being of service to other people is essentially one of the best ways you can feel good about your existence, right? Everything else is, I have a new house, I have a new car. It says, being of service and performing your duty are the kind of things that gives you the complete sense of meaning. So if there is something like that, then pursue it. Right. Obviously, if you feel you have to skip a day or two or a week or whatever just to get in a bit of a better mindset. But I
haven't stopped my own classes. I've stopped going to the other classes.
There you go. So then you're still doing your own classes.
Yeah. I can't not go. I can't stop my commitment to other people.
That's the only thing you can do. And then whatever you go from there, it's obviously another conversation, perhaps not for a podcast. But, yeah. All right.
Albert, the question that you asked ChatGPT was a very interesting question. But I was thinking when you were explaining that, what is the list of 20 catastrophic things that may happen and people are ready for them?
There you go. Yeah. I mean,
what?
And people are ready for them. And I think the list almost can be the same.
No, but the thing
because
is,
there is no way that because you are not preparing yourself for catastrophe.
Yeah, that's the whole point of a black swan event. You're not supposed to see it coming. And the trick is the Stoic principle of, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's basically previewing the negative that can happen. It's an exercise where you're imagining the worst possible scenario and then trying to see, is that the end of the world? So before it actually happens, so nothing has happened, right? And then you're imagining, what if I experienced this? What would I do then, right? Let's say an event happened and I am disabled. I don't have a leg. Is that a end of it? No. What will I do? I will do ABC. What is the next that I can do? I will do DEF. What are the things I can do now to perhaps mitigate the occurrence of this thing, right? And so there are things we can do to improve our preparedness for each one of those things. But if they happen, the extent of it is not in our control. The best we can do is to, again, find in that situation what is in our control and concentrate on that.
I remember from the time that I was working in the refinery as a HSE officer, health, safety, environment officer, we had this practice of HAZOP, hazard and operability studies that we would do or practice. which is a very interesting concept. You are constantly preparing yourself in the case of high risk systems and businesses, right? Like a refinery, for the risk that most probably will never happen. But you need to consider it in your calculations, and you need to have solutions for it.
It's risk management essentially that we do in
But
corporations.
to its highest stakes and to its ultimate maximum. I remember that I have this story that always stays with me. One day we were stacking the chimney in one part of the refinery, and we were the last part of the chimney, which was something like 13 tons, and it was being stacked in 72 meters from the ground. But we were only allowed to work during the day as long as we had the daylight. And the price for keeping the lift to keep that 13 tons piece on top of the chimney until tomorrow morning was millions in reals that where I was working. And the operators wanted to keep working during the night, or having the winch, having the lift, keeping the stack on itself was very costly for them. And I was pushing them to keep it with the lift. And they were saying that, what's the point? We will just leave it on top of the chimney and it's going to stay there. Nobody's going to touch it until tomorrow morning. Why are you insisting on the winch, on the lift to stay there and have it hanging from it? I said, but what if an earthquake happens? What are you going to do then? And they're like, but there had never been an earthquake in this area. I said, yes, until it happens. So the hazard study was something that you normally don't do and you shouldn't, because most probably you're going to go paranoid. You're going to go crazy. But yeah, anyways, got to this topic. Interesting. Shall we move to Elmer's account from the first quarter? Yep.
Yep.
All right. I will try to.
Oh, also silver medal, baby.
There you
Go
go.
on. Jonas, sorry, it's fine.
For me, the first quarter was work. Obviously, with the change in situation in Syria, with my new job, lots of focus on work, lots of stuff that are new for me, a new place, so to speak, new team, new function. So a lot of focus was on that. Everybody's very busy. Things are intense, and I have to keep an eye on, when things are intense for a continued period of time, unexpected things creep up on you, meaning you have a lot of blind spots. So that, relating to what I said earlier about management, I think I can do better in terms of the amount of communication I do and the amount of presence I have around. And there are some bugs in the way I'm handling things that I still haven't resolved. But I think the fact that I'm aware of those bugs is a start. So that's that. And I find that two things that actually helped me a lot are the lessons from last year that I've had. One, that it's supposed to be hard. And so it helps to find peace in adversity and in hardship. And two, that leadership is not a rank, but it's a choice. And so you have to make the right choice of pursuing something and not just assuming that because you have a certain rank, things will just play out the right way. Basically just to make sure that I don't get too comfortable. So that's that. Otherwise, as I mentioned a few months ago, my focus this year really is on sleep, on family. It's more of a slow down year for me. I think I'm trying to take it easy. That said, I have finished 5 articles, which is not what I was planning, but I'm okay with that. I kind of did a bit more in terms of reading in March, and I ended up the quarter with, I think, 10 books. Not all of them great, but I did have some great ones. I mean, I'll mention one that Shahab had mentioned before, Make It Stick. I thought it was a great book. And then the other book was How to Take Smart Notes, and I'll elaborate on that in a second.
Oh, did you like it? That was on my radar.
Yeah, it's a great book, and I'll explain in a minute why.
Awesome.
Exercising was good, although in the first week of April, I really took like a whole week off and did nothing physical because I thought I was starting to hear my body talking to me and saying, "Hey, man, you need to give us a bit of a break." But in the first quarter, sorry, Kia, I'm kind of going to go over your statistic there. I have 76 exercise sessions. Really tried to go for 6 days a week. I was more or less on pace for that, but April has screwed it up a bit. But we'll see how it goes.
Did you start Zone 2 training, by the way?
Yes, I have a bike now.
It's awesome, isn't it?
It's great. What I do, I have to say though, it may be great for my cardio and for my VO2 max, but it's not great for diabetes control.
How so?
What I find is that when I do Zone 2 trainings, my blood sugar control does not improve as much as it does when I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu sessions or weightlifting or...
Oh, yeah, of course. It's a more long-term thing.
Yeah, but high intensity bike work, like the 4x4, actually seems to do the trick.
Are you doing that too?
I do that too, so I vary.
Okay, so give me some data. What is your heart rate on Zone 2?
I don't track it.
How do you know you're in Zone 2? You just do the talk test?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I don't track it.
I don't like it.
Oh, it's fine. For now, because, honestly, the first time...
If you do that, how do you do the 4x4?
Time. I go as high as possible, as fast as possible, whatever I can handle, and then I take the next 4 minutes to drop the intensity.
Okay.
Shah, would you mind reminding me of Zone 2? Where's Zone 2?
Zone 2, the real definition is that your lactate levels is below a certain threshold. I don't remember. I think it's 2 molars. I don't know. I don't remember. But for me, it's anywhere between 70 to 85% of your heart rate max, depending on how well trained you are. So I go with 70% of my heart rate max, and it's supposed to be your actual heart rate max. So mine is slightly higher than the calculated. Mine is 192, but you can also calculate it.
For how long?
What? Zone 2?
For how long you go with your...
You generally do around 45 sessions at 4 times a week. 4 times a week.
You should do it 45 minutes to an hour. I'm doing 32 minutes now to just build it up because I'm not really...
Yeah, it doesn't really matter if it's 45, etc.
Yeah, but,
it matters
45 minutes a week?
No,
a session for 4 times.
Wait, so you stay with your highest 70% of your highest...
70% of your heart rate max. So for me, that's like 130 to 140 beats. It's really easy. It's actually the best way to know it is to have the talk test. So you can talk comfortably, but somebody else on the phone will understand that you're doing exercise. So you're not like panting or anything.
Oh, Kia, there are 5 levels. 1 being the lightest, 5 being the most intense, right? Yeah. 5 is when you put think sprinting, 100-meter dash. At the end of it, you're out of breath, your hands are on your knees, you're half bent, you're trying to just not pass out, right? So that's the highest intensity. Zone 2 is you're able to keep the conversation going, but the other person can clearly see that you're straining.
Yeah.
So this is not that, right? Mm-hmm. If you just walk around, that's not that.
Actually, Attia has a YouTube video. He's doing Zone 2 and he's talking to the camera. So that's the best way to know what it is.
Not too fast though. So if you do high intensity interval training, that's way above. That's like zone 4 or something like that.
That's 5
So
for sure.
The interesting thing is that the most valuable things for your VO2 max is the zone 5, say
Yes.
once a week, and zone 2, say four times a week. 3 and 4 actually don't do that much for that. Now they have other benefits, obviously, but if we're talking about VO2 max and your cardio overall, interestingly, zone 2 training is something that you have to do. So you don't have to kill yourself at every session. That was the takeaway.
No, zone 2, you actually come more refreshed from, interestingly enough.
But
So
for
that's
me,
good.
The trick is I have to find not only the exercise that addresses one particular thing, let's say your VO2 max, but also helps me with sugar control. And so in that, I have to kind of balance things across the board. So I do that. I do weight training. I do jiu-jitsu sessions a couple times a week whenever I get an opponent, and then moving from there.
Mhm.
So the most, the things that were really the highlights. First of all, in January, my youngest son went to his first chess competition and did great. Knocked off his first achievement. He got the entry-level degree at the first attempt. Interestingly, his older brothers needed 2-3 attempts to get there, but he did it from the first go. And so that was awesome. The other thing is that, dude, a robot vacuum cleaner is a fucking life changer. I was kind of resistant. I was like, no, I'll do it myself as an old school vacuum cleaners. But these creatures, like we've named it, so it has a name. It's basically a member of the household, and it's just doing amazing.
What is it called?
You don't know the reference. It's a reference to a Russian cartoon about a kind of a character that is like it's a bit of a superstition that in the old Russian houses, you had this creatures that would show up at nights after everybody sleep to clean the house and put things in their places. So it's a character that takes care of the house, but it's not the living being. It's basically a fantasy character type of thing.
Okay.
So that's that. And then the third thing is I started using Obsidian for my note taking, and it's a game changer, I think. And I knew about Obsidian before, but Obsidian is just a tool, right? My problem was I didn't have a good method, and we talked about this before, but I take copious amounts of notes. I read a lot, take notes in all kinds of formats and all kinds of places. The problem is they all sit there. And so my problem was, how do I turn this into something actionable, into something that I can use? Now, since I started writing on Medium, what is it now? Almost 3 years ago, a lot of that thinking has gone into writing, getting refined. Some of it is sitting in my drafts and so on. But there's a lot more that was sitting in my notes in Evernote or in my planners or so on and so forth, or in my margin notes in the books that I read. And so that bookshop that you asked me to reconfirm if it was good, How to Take Smart Notes, what it did was to give me a method, because I kind of have progressed, and I'll write about this in one article as I get a better view of this method. So GTD was the first thing that I started playing with, but GTD is really a task management system. It's not a knowledge management system. So it helped me to understand the importance of capturing everything. So writing everything down was like one of the principles there. Having a certain structure that you trust, having a system that you can put the information into, and then you don't have to hold it in your head anymore. And this frees up a lot of operating space in your brain. So the brain is for having thoughts and not for holding them all the time. Then the next thing that I came across was building a second brain book. Didn't really do it much for me. I wrote an article about it. There's some general principles that I took from it, but I couldn't operationalize it. I couldn't actually turn it into a functional system. And so I kept my notes in different places, and they still were there collecting dust, real or virtual. Then finally,
even after the second brain.
Building a Second Brain is the book. Yes, has a lot of good information, a lot of interesting concepts. But while the concepts,
I know, Kia.
What?
Sorry. My video is frozen, and Kia is telling me that. It's been frozen for some time, and I have no idea why.
Yeah, no, I see it too.
Okay.
It says actual recording is higher quality. So on your video. So, good. So anyway, the method is called Zettelkasten. It was practiced by a scientist and a lot of references in German. But essentially, the point of it is, I'm trying to see how I can explain it in very simple terms. You take an idea and put it on a note, right? So if you were using a paper-based system, you would use just note cards and write your own description or analysis of what that thought is. You don't want to put too much on one note. Then you don't have a strict filing system. You don't decide in advance what your filing system is going to be. You let this system evolve based on your natural inclinations and interests. And whatever you read, whatever you pick up from those books, an interesting quote, an interesting example, interesting exercise. And so you keep collecting those. So this is what I call note-taking 2.0 in the sense that you're not just writing notes. For example, you would write, here's my notes from book X. But in that book, you can have 5 notes on different topics, right? So how do you make sure that you find that note when you need it? And so the question you ask yourself when you're putting together that note is, in what context and in what situation do I want to come across this information? And so that forces you to think about note-taking a bit differently from what we are used to doing in a linear format. And once I understood that idea, because it can scale endlessly, it's a very bottom-to-top approach, bottom-up approach. It's a great personal knowledge management system, and the originator of it was using a paper-based version. And by the way, Ryan Holiday and Robert Greene are also using the same system. They're using the paper-based version of it. So then, when I looked at Obsidian, I realized it is perhaps the best digital system for doing this, and it works for me perhaps better than the paper version. I mean, I bought some paper note cards as well, so I got these, and I'm still waiting for a bit of a box setup to see. I'll play with the paper version as well, just to see what that feels like. So far, what it does is it connects you. I mean, Obsidian has this amazing feature. It's very simple. Depending on the tag words that you put, keywords that you put into that text or highlight within the existing text, it connects this note to another note that has exactly the same tag. And then you can see it graphically. It's like a massive mind map that just, jumps in your face and you see it. And the interesting thing is that you can then draw connections from one concept to another, often in ways that you didn't necessarily think about when you were writing a particular note, because none of us has the entirety of that system in our mind at any given time. It's too much. No one can have that kind of processing power, but basically it's a system that enables serendipity, right? Things will pop up in front of you naturally. And if you're writing about a particular topic, it's easy to find things among your notes, things that you've already picked from material. So you've curated it. It's like you've selected that from what makes most sense or gives most value to you. And now you no longer have to just put them in folders and folders and sub-subfolders and sub-subfolders. But by using the right syntax in how you draft that note, it enables the system to present them to you when you're looking for a particular kind of information. So I thought that was a game changer. I already used that once when I was writing the last article, and I will use it again going forward. So that I think was a big takeaway for me.
How does it help you writing the article?
So let's say I decide on a topic that I'm going to write. And of course, when you're trying to think about a topic, you first brainstorm, you put some thoughts. But the thing is, you already have hundreds of notes, right? Unless you do a physical search of a particular word or keywords across your notes or whatever, you're not going to even go to those notes. And if they're handwritten, forget it. Right? If you were reading a book, for example, and you had, let's say, you highlighted something, you put an exclamation mark next to a paragraph, but it's there, it's sitting there. If you I used to take a lot of notes by hand, and they were sitting in these massive notebooks for years. And I wasn't sure, okay, how do I need to go back and read them all again to keep in mind that I have this note about this topic? Because if you take notes, not by topic, but by book, then they are filed by book and not by, do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not easy to go. Digital is obviously easier because you can search. But Obsidian, that graphic interface that it just pops up, and then you see that, okay, in the last, what is it now? 1 month that I started using Obsidian, a lot of stuff that I've taken notes about are, for example, about stoicism, about productivity. There are different topics that interestingly start pop up more and more regularly, like how to deal with adversity and hardship, for example, or how to develop self-awareness. Decision-making is another. Like, I can see what are the common things that I seem to gravitate towards. And that doesn't necessarily come to you naturally when you just read. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, so I'll write about this separately, but I would encourage you guys to explore this. The book is just 100 pages. So in terms of, and by the way, because they recommended it. So it's not something that I mean, it was on my radar, but she read it and she basically told me, you have to read this. Like,
what was that?
The book? How to Take Smart Notes. So again, you'll see the concept is not complicated. And the interesting thing is that essentially the problem with a lot of note taking is that we come up with, we jump into the tool before we have a method. Once you understand the methodology that you want to use, then picking a tool becomes easy. You know which tool works for this method or which tool works for that method, and then the rest is peanuts. But I find that the huge amount of information, hundreds upon hundreds of notes that I've accumulated about work, about different interests that I have, they're just sitting there in this vague kind of space, some online, some on paper. And now, for the first time, I'm starting to bring them all together, right? Like, for example, think about my takeaways from a book. So 7 takeaways from a particular book. Now, Shahab was in one conversation where I just, from my memory, recited 7 takeaways I had from David Allen's Getting Things Done. But those are unique takeaways, unique to me. Somebody else would take completely different lessons out of it. Now, I've gone through that exercise with that particular book so many times that it's almost entrenched in my memory. But some other books, like if you quiz me now about any of the articles that I've written, I said, what were your 7 takeaways from book X? I may remember a few, but I may not remember all 7. And I'll be like, if you remind me of that, oh, right. And then I'll go into detail about why that was a takeaway from me. My point is, even when you go through it and write about it, it's not a given that next time I need to remember this information or I want to use it in different contexts, this information will just jump at me. So we need a system where we make it as easy as possible. And this is the method and the interface that I feel for now allows me to do that best. The other aspect of things is that, again, I mentioned this too. I think Obsidian is a great note-taking system for jiu-jitsu. And you remember we were talking about when you were just starting about creating these maps of what do I connect with what in terms of jiu-jitsu. I remember my first map, I showed it to Devon. He was like, Jesus Christ, what are you doing? That's too much. I'm like, yeah, but that's the only way I can conceptualize things. I need to understand what the totality of this domain of knowledge is that I'm trying to become proficient in. And the problem I always had with jiu-jitsu is you can have a butterfly guard position, right? And you're writing a note about it. But then there are sweeps from there. So should I file it under sweeps or under guard? But there are submissions there. Should I file it under submissions or under guard or under sweeps? But then there's a particular submission that you can get from here and also from half guard and also from butterfly and also that. Then how do I, do you know what I'm saying? Like I had a problem connecting things, not by one parameter, but I wanted them connected by several parameters at the same time, simultaneously. And that is, of course, a complex system. Excel, for example, cannot help you that. You remember Microsoft Access was supposed to be that software that allows you to build databases where the connection doesn't just happen on vertical and horizontal axis, but by multiple parameters, right? And so that can work with data. But when it comes to knowledge management, where it's words, it's not figures. It's not just certain measurements or whatever. Then it becomes complicated. And so I struggled with my jiu-jitsu note-taking, trying different methods. So I'm experimenting now with Obsidian, and it's interesting. So ask me again towards the end of the year when I have more material inputted so I can see what it looks like. But I feel like if I were to start jiu-jitsu now or all over again, and I had this method at my disposal, I would have made progress even faster.
Interesting.
That's cool.
That's it for me.
Awesome. Gentlemen, that was a great session. Just one thing that I want to ask is, was the first quarter anything close to what you were planning for 2025?
Well,
No.
you know,
Is it ever?
yeah, in December, what was it, December 31st or January 1st or 2nd, people are exchanging these New Year, I wish you a great New Year. 2025 is happy. And I wrote, we had a group where of senior managers, and I wrote there and I said, nah, I don't think any of these wishes are helpful. What I wish for all of us is to have the courage and the patience to deal with all the shit that 2025 is surely going to throw our way. And so, you know, it's better to think of it as, problem is coming. And frankly, so far, 2025 didn't disappoint in that department.
Yep.
It's full of events, and you don't know where to start. So that's a topic for another podcast altogether. But yeah, so no, it's not nearly what I think both Shab and I had in mind.
Neither me. To be honest, before preparing for this podcast, I even didn't know how many articles I wrote. I just checked, and I didn't remember that I wrote 3. I was like, I thought I didn't write 3.
Yeah.
You know, I really liked the idea that we discussed in the podcast that we had about what we are planning to do for 2025. And you were insisting on not specifically having goals, which is going to take you down. You're going to go after yourself and just disappointing yourself and put yourself under pressure for no reason. So I came up with the idea of 24s and different axioms and plans that I have for this year. But then I stopped counting. I said, I'm better not to count. Let's just do what I do. And then whenever we prepare for the podcast, we're going to talk, I'm going to go and count. But if I count, and I was just constantly want to remind myself, okay, I wrote 3 articles, meaning that I owe myself 3 other articles for the first quarter, meaning that now in the mid-April, I need to write 5 articles. So then it's going to be very frustrating. So yeah, that was a great advice actually. But of course, I think most of the time we start the year very ambitious with ambitious planning. I mean, I remember your reaction when I said that I want to record 24 episodes. I want to publish 24 episodes for 2025. And I was saying that I have this humble number in my mind for 2025. And when I said it, you were like, okay, it doesn't sound very humble. The 24 podcast recording is no joke, I know.
Listen, goals are great. You just have to give yourself a bit of a slack every once in a while. But having specific targets, I am more of a fan of having targets rather than not having targets. It's just something that I think we shouldn't do all the time and on every single thing. Like you can have a target on podcasts, but then don't kill yourself with, I don't know, something else. And then, for example, this year, the only thing I'm trying to have a target on is how many workout sessions I have, right?
Yes, having targets for inputs rather than outputs. That's the best
thing. But everything else is, If I get to compete this year, fine. If I don't get to compete, it is what it is.
Understood.
He is going to compete in May, right?
I'm not going to compete. I changed my mind.
Oh, really? Okay.
I was very serious to do so. I even communicated with the grappling industry for the payment because they only accept PayPal, and then they gave me an account which is here in Egypt that they can pay, but I need an Egyptian account to pay it. And it's a little bit of a struggle to ask people to send money from my end, and then I gave them. But then I was like, I'm going to go hard in one day, which is going to be 10th May. And most probably I'm going to pick up an injury in the situation that I am in now. I cannot risk my body to go through injuries.
Fair enough.
I need my body. I have a lot to do. I am terribly sleep deprived. And I think that's going to be a bad idea.
That's
To
amazing.
be fair, you do better doing AJP because Grappling Industries has ADCC rules for blue belts. So there's knee bars, there's toe holds. It's not the best idea for you to do them without practicing.
But I was very serious for a while. So I even started doing cardio. I go out and run in the morning. I wake up at 4:30 and then I go out at 5:15 and I run for not much, but just 20 minutes and I come back. Not only for my cardio, I think I also need it for mind wandering, and I really need to get out and enjoy the morning sunlight. And that's the only way. There's not much hours that I can take without interruption.
Fair enough. There's a lot of opportunities in 2025 if you do decide, but yeah, you don't need to. That's not a priority at all.
It's really upsetting me, the situation that I am in. I really want to do jiu-jitsu, but I can't do the closest jiu-jitsu academy to me is 35 minutes drive, which is not close
Are
at
you
all.
sure? I heard people like saying that there's other places. I think you need to recheck.
Yeah, you're talking about Cairo. I don't live in Cairo. I live an hour away from Cairo. So,
Okay.
anyways, it's not fun, but I tell myself that's not going to stay like this. That's going to change. So
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
rather stay in the business, talk about it, watch videos, so time to time instructional, talk about it with you until the next time that I have the chance to start training again.
Watch my classes, man.
And watch your classes, of course. Why not?
Yeah. Which reminds me, I need to upload the last 2 episodes.
Hey, man, can you resend us the link?
Sure. Yeah.
Thanks.
I'll send you the link of the playlist. Everything is there.
Yes.
You can start it so you can access it after.
But gentlemen, thank you again.
Thank
Finally,
you.
Thank you, sir.
we wrapped the first quarter. We definitely
Sorry, I
are
didn't
gonna
have too much to add. I'll try to do better for the next one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank both of you. Thank you, Elmar. Thank you, Shell. Have a good one.
Serious.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.